everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale in Abuja. Good evening, Nigeria. Tonight we take to the skies, not just figuratively, but literally, as we delve into the turbulence and triumphs of our nation's aviation sector, from the meals served on bound flights to the multi-million-dollar agreement shaping our airspace. The aviation industry is a vital artery of our economy and our global identity. But let's face it, everyone, the journey hasn't always been smooth. Local catering policies are spurring debate. Airport infrastructure remains under scrutiny despite hefty investment, and whispers about private airstrip approvals have some questioning priorities. Add touting and extortion at airports to the mix, and it's clear there is a lot to unpack. Joining us on the cockpit tonight is a man with no shortage of flight plans, Nigeria's Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, from the buzz of Nigeria's first international air show to the crash landings of the helicopter in Port Harcourt. We'll be putting every issue on the radar. Wait, what is the real story behind our airspace's global rating? How does the Boeing agreement position us for takeoff? And are we truly on course, everyone, to becoming Africa's aviation hub? Is that the plan anyways? Or are we caught in an endless holding pattern? Buckle up, Nigeria. This promises to be a high-altitude conversation with no topic left at cruising altitude. I'm being joined tonight by the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Mr. Festus Keyamo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. It's a pleasure having you tonight.
Thank you, Joe, for inviting me tonight.
Thank you so much indeed. Let's begin the conversation around some of the latest developments, and I'd like you to probably clear the air about this issue of the airstrip approvals. The House of Representatives were very clear. They thought that the reason behind it is illegal and, sometimes caught up with the issue of personal favors that's been shown in regard. A very prominent church leader has announced that they've gotten approval for airstrip. Is it legal, and what are the policy issues behind it?
Thank you. I think that's just a storm in the teacup. It's not a serious issue. Private airstrips have always existed in Nigeria anyway, and the law allows people to apply to build private airstrips. People and institutions, especially institutions, where, for instance, you have very heavy activities around your institution, maybe schools, universities, factories, and you need to maybe lift equipment and lift goods and services to that location. Just like where Shell built airstrips in Warri in those days, and oil locations. So it has always been there. The point is that you must go through an approval process in order to get a license to establish a private airstrip. And then it is not what a minister wakes up overnight to grant. When you see that a minister finally grants an approval, it has taken months and sometimes years by the agencies involved. So they normally carry out their due process, they visit the sites, they look at the terrain to see whether it is good for landing, and all of that. So many factors, the technical people are there to always look at these factors. And at the end of the day, the NCAA, that is the regulator, now recommends to the minister for approval. And so when the minister does the last act of approving, he's taking into consideration all the recommendations forwarded to him by all the technical experts in all the agencies under him. But then, in a political setup, in a government setup, the minister, who is the political head of the ministry, must reserve the final right to grant that approval, because even after meeting all the requirements, there are certain issues that may also deny, the particular institution of that approval, and that may be government policy or thereabout.
Is that the only private?
Hold on. Now, the concern raised was not about legality or illegality. Was that they feared that private airstrips in Nigeria, proliferation of private airstrips, may be a security concern, where people may just take off from their private airstrips out of Nigeria, money laundering, drug activities, or fly into Nigeria with contraband and, all kinds of things. However, like I said before in my explanatory notes, when I tweeted my response, I said, first of all, we must commend the member in the House of Rep that raised that issue. That was very, very patriotic, and it was vigilant, very vigilant on their part. So the concern was very genuine. However, it was the reason for the concern that was a bit misplaced, because if they had engaged and consulted, we would have explained to them how it works in aviation. Now, when you apply for a private airstrip, you can only build the terminal building and provide all the technical things and all that in the airstrip. But the moment you do that, once you finish doing that, the control tower, the control tower in the airstrip must be fully handed over to the federal government. The federal government, through the NAMA, the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, is the agency that is in total control of the entire airspace in Nigeria. So even if you apply for an airstrip and you run an airstrip, you don't control the airspace. The federal government is in charge of the airspace, the security, that's what they call the aviation security, and all of that. So that before you take off at all from your airstrip, you must have approval from the federal government at every time before you take off. Not only that, once your airstrip is not approved as an international gateway, you cannot take off and land out of the country, either from out of the country or outside the country from that airstrip. You must go through recognized international airports. So for instance, if I have an airstrip, right, and I'm flying from London into Nigeria, you must first of all, file what they call a flight plan. NAMA must grant you an NCAA, they must grant you the approval to even take off from where you are to begin to approach Nigeria. No object flies into Nigeria, no object, whether it is drone or even military, without approval by the relevant aviation in the
as of when is this?
Every time.
No, because there are issues as to security.
No.
There are operations, military operations, external military operations in Nigeria that are allegedly without the notice of the Nigerian government.
No, it's at every point in time the authorities must approve. I'm just telling you that at every point, you cannot fly into Nigeria without.
Do we have a Nigerian minister?
We have a number of them, more than 40. We have for the federal airports, we have 23. All right. And then the state airports about 8 or 9 now. And then the airstrips about 40 or thereabouts.
I'm talking about
it has always been there. Yes, it has always been there.
So the one
private airstrips have always been there.
The one that caught the eye of the House of Representatives is that of the one mentioned by Bishop David Oyedepo.
Yes, correct.
The Living Faith.
Correct.
Did he go through all of what?
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's no problem. They're only concerned about the fact that they thought that somebody can take off from a private airstrip and fly out of Nigeria or fly into Nigeria. It's not possible. You must land in an international airport first. And then the customs, immigration, NDLA will process you. And then you now take off from there to your private airstrip. All right? If you're also flying out, you must fly out. You must fly and land at an international airport. You go through customs, immigration, all the normal process, and then fly out. So nobody uses an airstrip for any such purpose without due clearance.
There are worries about outdated monitoring and air traffic management systems in Nigeria. And you have been one of your early interviews right here on this program. In fact, I think your very first interview as a Minister of Aviation, you told us a plan about the change for air traffic management systems. Have all those been done, or you are still in the process of procurement?
We're in the process of procurement, but we have identified the problems. The president is very concerned. The president has actually told all the relevant bodies to financial, agencies to, source for the funds. But we have identified all our problems. For instance, let me tell you, when we had those unfortunate crashes in Nigeria, I think under Obasanjo or thereabouts, it was after then there was a deliberate decision to now upgrade our facilities because we discovered that there were a lot of gaps in our navigational equipment. And so they had what they call the total radial coverage of Nigeria and the Safe Tour project. Those are the two major projects that we undertook. Total radial coverage, they call it TRACON, and the Safe Tour project. Now, if you know the world of navigation all over the world, normally, after every 10 years, equipments become obsolete. It's all over the world. And you must replace or upgrade after 10 years. It's not that they're not working, but normally technology improves. And so maybe for better communication and all of that, especially those equipments that guide an aeroplane for approach and landing, even under very difficult conditions, they keep improving that. In those days, if visibility is below a certain level, a plane cannot land. But these days, even if visibility is zero, there are equipments that can guide the approach and landing even under zero visibility. So we are upgrading to those equipments.
Some of our equipment, Minister, from what I gather, some of them are 25 years old. Some of them are 20 years old.
Yes.
Some airports in Nigeria, local airports, you cannot land after 5, 6 p.m.
That is not because of equipment. That is because of the night landing equipment.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's for economic reasons. There are some airports in Nigeria that are local airports that you don't have activities at night. So we put off the lights, we put off the airfield lights and all that, and then they must go home. We can't maintain air traffic controllers and all that throughout the night when there is no activity. It's except the international airports, especially Lagos and Abuja, we must run 24 hours because those are the nation's, nation's capital and flagship airports that you must keep running whether flights are landing or not. We're obligated to keep Lagos and Abuja 24 hours on. So it consumes a lot of money.
So the retooling of the air traffic management system is not on the 2024-25 budget.
It has always been there. But we need special funding because one budget cannot carry the burden. We are talking of things that run into hundreds of millions of dollars. And there's foreign exchange components in some of these requirements. We are talking of some of the best companies around the world that provide these equipments, and they need foreign currencies for that. That is why the point you are making must also lead us to give kudos to our air traffic controllers. They are extremely hardworking, and you can see that they are still maintaining our airspace very safe. We have one of the safest airspaces in Africa, despite the fact that we are still a bit behind in some of this equipment, but they are working. It's not they are working. It's just like, what do I say? Like your telephone. Your iPhone 6 is still working. It can ring, but we have gone to iPhone 16. But it can work.
The worry here,
it can work.
The worry is and the assurance Nigerians will want to get is that our airspace is safe.
100% safe. It's just that we must
with all these outdated air traffic system management.
But they are working. It's not that they are not working. It's not that they have collapsed. They are working. I can assure you, just that I have to be truthful to the Nigerian people that they are working 100%. That's why you have not seen, commercial.
So when we imagine that maybe you take it one after the other, maybe take Abuja Airport for a start and go to the Lagos Airport, and whichever one you take as priority.
For instance, for the Track-on, we are doing the 5 international airports first.
At the same time.
And the Safe Tour project, yes. But then there are 12 other airports for the Safe Tour project. We have 12 other local airports on the line for that, for the Safe Tour project, okay?
And what's the timeline? What's the duration of this?
We are in touch with the equipment manufacturers, okay? But like I told you, Mr. President is on top of this. Mr. President has not denied us anything. He had always minuted. The moment we submit, he minutes on it, and he says, go and look for the funds. And because of the depthness with which this president has handled this economy, right? You can see that our liquidity is rising. So because our liquidity is rising, the president is meeting up most of the obligations in the aviation sector. Let me tell you this. One of the first things the president addressed when he came to office was the backlog of trapped funds for the airlines. We have cleared them.
All of them.
We have cleared them.
What about
IATA had to issue a special thank you message to Nigeria because I pushed, and the president was on top of the issue and gave directive to the CBN to clear those trapped funds. And that's why you see the foreign airlines are coming back.
You cleared the foreign airlines, but you left the local airlines.
No, the local airlines don't have trapped funds.
No, they do.
What they have are foreign exchange requests to import their equipment and their parts.
Alan Oyema sat in this chair.
Yes, I agree.
And he complained about the fact that foreign airlines were being serviced.
Yes.
But the local airlines still have their funds trapped.
I agree.
Except if you say you have cleared them.
It's not trapped. Listen, I'm giving you the difference. Listen to the difference. They need foreign exchange to import their parts, to pay for their foreign obligations. Okay? But because that is why that is the advantage of supporting local airlines, because they are not selling their tickets in dollars, in foreign currency. You don't have to convert to send to them. Okay? How do we have trap funds with the foreign airlines? Because when you sell their monies, their tickets in Naira, you deposit Naira in the central bank. The central bank has to look for the foreign exchange component to send this money to them. So the money is not that the money is not there. The money is there in the central bank, but in Naira components. They have to look for the dollar
the
component
concern
to
here is that what concerns the local airlines and operators here, you seem to focus and want to satisfy the foreign operators as against the local operators.
No, you don't understand.
No, I understand that you are helping. No, Minister, just you have explained to Nigerians the trap funds and the dimension in which the local operators are involved. And I totally understand. But the question is that some of the local operators still have problems with funds.
We are addressing that. I'm just telling you that we had to do it step by step.
You took the foreign airline priority as against local operators.
Because they threatened to stop. We don't service all different international routes.
But the local operators are also suffering.
We don't service
the international routes. Are you doing anything about it?
I'm asking you, do we service the international routes, all of us? The local airlines? Do we fly to America? Do we fly to Germany? Do we fly to other parts of the world? Do we fly to France? Do we fly to other parts of the world? What if they stopped? I'm asking you, what if they stopped? The
question here, Minister, is that what are you doing about the local operators?
No, that is civil.
This local economy that will drive our economy.
That remains a priority for us. But I'm telling you that we resolve the issue of the local foreign airlines.
Are you taking it seriously, Minister?
Oh, 100%. No, that is not a question. It's just that you thought that it was a wrong discretion to quickly settle the trapped funds of local. That also has to do with our international image. That international companies, they had their funds trapped in Nigeria. We didn't have the foreign exchange component to pay to them. And that is why the moment liquidity began to rise, the president saw that as priority that would clear the local, the foreign
Minister, I see that you're already advertising a first Nigerian international air show. For those who imagine that, how do you want to expose ourselves when we know that our aviation sector is still a baby trying to crawl? We still have a lot of our airports in very disturbing situation. Our infrastructure are still very messy. You fly into Nigeria sometimes, even the toilet water are not working. Some things are still not in shape. What is the sense behind an international air show when you know you have not really fixed our infrastructure here in Nigeria?
Well, the fact that we have not fixed everything does not mean we will not try and advertise ourselves and bring in investors into Nigeria. Let me tell you this. The only way forward in terms of infrastructure, in fact, all the big infrastructure ministries, not only aviation, is to attract private investors. There's no way forward because budgetary allocations cannot carry the big infrastructure plan. Okay, the president in his wisdom has also, instituted what they call the Renewed Hope Fund. But that also will provide counterpart funding. It will not provide the full funding for some big infrastructure. So what do we want to do? We have gone around the world. We've seen air shows across the world. Nigeria has never held an air show in the history of Nigeria. What's an air show? An air show is not airplanes flying in the air and displaying. No, people just think that is an air show. No, an air show is where you open up the country for investors to come and display their wares. Original equipment manufacturing companies will come. All the companies in the aviation ecosystem, they will come and take different stands. You know what? Normal exhibit, like a fair. Like come and take. Even people sewing uniform for captains and their cap. They'll say this is a tailor. We sew uniform for captains, so patronize us. And on and on. Those who sell tires of aeroplane, they will come. And then guess what? All the biggest companies in the world have indicated interest to come. And so we may start small, but let us start to expose ourselves to the world, to show our potentials. Look, Nigeria is the most viable country in Africa when it comes to aviation. Largest population, largest traffic, most positioned country to be a hub in Africa. Let us begin to expose Nigeria. Let us begin to attract people to come. And that's what the air show is all about. And we are collaborating with some private people. The government is not spending a kobo. So let me just tell you that first of all, 1 naira government is not spending. We're just endorsing it. Private partnership is coming in. They are spending all the money. They are investing. So government is only providing the necessary environment, necessary airports, because they have to use our runways and our aviation environment to display these wares. So government is not spending, but you can see the cleverness in what we are just providing the platform for people to come.
I mean, Minister,
we are going to do it next year.
Yeah, and I hope that some of you in government have a clear vision of where you want Nigeria to be. I'm a proud Nigerian that I'm unapologetic about my pride for Nigeria. But again, when you travel out of this country, for those who talk about how heavy the traffic here in Nigeria is, but one will be ashamed when you travel to Kotoka Airport in Accra, you travel to Kenyan Airport, you travel to the Cape Town or even the Johannesburg Airport, you travel to Rwanda Airport, and you wonder that we are just a joke in terms of the way we handle things. And when we tout the biggest economy in Africa, the biggest traffic, sometimes it's shameful when you fly down back in Nigeria, when you're coming from some of these smaller, in quote, African countries, and you see what they are doing. Minister, do you have a clear vision of where you want to take our aviation sector?
Give me time to answer this. Right. Now, nobody, when it comes to infrastructure, nobody can come to power and by decree and said, I pull this building down, I build a new one, I did this. No, nobody can do that. You must go back and plan properly to say, look, how did we get here? For instance, we built the airport in Lagos in 1977 or 76 using the Schiphol model. It was the same Schiphol model we used, Amsterdam. And then we went to sleep. We never thought that the population and the traffic will grow and outgrow that facility. And so over the years, there should have been expansion of that facility, expansion and reinvestment. But then here we are. So don't expect that I come to office or Asiwaju's government comes to office, Tinubu's government comes to office within 1 year, and by stroke of pen, we just pull it down and build. Even to rebuild it will take years to rebuild it, to build a befitting one. So where are we going? Let me be very clear. Where we are going is that we want to concession the airports. If we don't have money to do it now, let us concession. In the long term, let's concession them.
How many of them?
The 5 internationals, okay. The 5 international airports. Not only concession them, in concessioning them, we must turn them into proper hubs, not just terminal buildings. Because we must give our plan to the concessionaire and say, look, don't just come and repaint this place. Build a proper hub where planes can come in, process passengers to the next country, and on like that. So we are doing that, and that's why we are doing a master plan right now. We're in the process of doing a master plan. That's one. The second one is that in the short term, do we tell Nigerian stories to say we are waiting for long term and all of that? In the short term, we want to keep what we have neat, comfortable, and attractive to people. So it's not how expensive your house is or how big your house is. If you have a small house, you keep it neat and clean. Functionality. Functionality. That is what we're trying to do now. And so in the short term, you can see that it is a customer-centric sector, aviation sector, especially that of the airports, not the regulators. That's a very customer-centric department. What did I do recently? You saw what I did last week. I said, you know what? I want to raise marshals, volunteers, to come and help us in monitoring what these workers are doing and even give us ideas on the airport. It is very akin to what we have in the road traffic marshals.
The FRS.
FRSC. Remember, there was a time, and that's a part of the transport sector too. There was a time that, of course, the normal employed road traffic officers were overwhelmed by traffic. They can't be everywhere every time. So what did they do? They now brought in public-spirited Nigerians, patrols, and gave them badges and the normal, traffic clothes to say, look, and wherever you are, and you see there's a traffic, come out of your car and begin to direct traffic. There were even celebrity traffic wardens at some point, celebrity ones. Now, we want to then involve Nigerians in governance. We are not afraid to make ourselves open to say, look, come and scrutinize us and help us in this. I'm always bemused, Chimu, when I see NGOs at times, they're always very interested in elections. And after elections, they just go to bed. Elections are not an end in themselves. Elections are a means to an end, which is good governance, responsible governance. So I expect NGOs to not only monitor elections. After the elections, they should monitor governance and the issues of governance. And that's why we're bringing NGOs. In all the airports where you have, in all the towns where you have airports, federal airports, we are saying 3 responsible Nigerians will be made marshals, voluntary marshals. I am here seated in my air-conditioned office. The MD fan is seated. And meanwhile, they're telling us stories in Calabar, Kaduna Airport and all that. We are not there monitoring them. The airport managers are giving monthly amounts. They are giving monthly. Let Nigerians know. They are giving monthly money
Who
to maintain those airports.
The local airport? Akura Airport,
they are the airport managers.
No, I'm saying who owns them?
They are federal airports.
All the airports in Nigeria are owned by...
No, not all.
Yeah.
They are federal airports, they are state airports.
So now the question...
The state airports are like Asaba, Kebbi...
Are you able to shut down until fixed? Some of these...
No. We are not shutting down.
Hold on. Let me land on my question. If you go to a motor park, for example, that is owned by a local government, a local government authority can say, look, for sanitation purposes, you need to go and fix this park and reopen in 2 weeks' time. If you travel to some of our local airports, and there are several local airports, I've traveled to several cities in America that they have only one conveyor belt, and they manage them effectively and neat. Some of our local airports, state governments, if they own them, should be ashamed of themselves, the manner in which some of these airports are. But if the federal government has the regulatory obligation over this airport, why are you watching them and see that...
We don't have regulatory authority over their terminal buildings. We have regulatory authority over the airspace, over the aviation security to ensure that people don't carry dangerous goods into the aircraft and all that. That's why FAN is still there with the aviation security. You cannot provide security as a private person or state government. It's the federal government. But we cannot then come and direct you to say, you must do this, you must build it like this. Or after the first approval by NCAA, what NCAA can do is to say, look, it's not fit or safe for landing.
So you can't say that this airport terminal is not okay
when it comes to
for
safety.
Operation.
No, when it comes to safety.
I'm talking about operational now. So it's federal government.
Safety.
Hold on, Minister. And you understand what I mean. Minister, I'm very certain that apart from going in a hotel, you will not sleep in a hotel that has bed bugs. As soon as you enter the room,
that goes to safety. So the question, that goes to safety.
So but that's the question. Are we able to say that some of these airports are not safe for operations?
NCAA can say you are not safe for operation, but then that is also subjective. You can't say, for instance, oh, this terminal building is not big enough, or it's not, maybe it's not well painted, for instance. Those subjective kind of appraisals.
The checklist, Minister, you will literally carry the bag from the aircraft. You will see them carrying the bag from the aircraft and literally by hand.
I'll tell you something.
And ferry it. And I'll tell you something. A very shameful
I'll tell you something. The NCAA checklist may be different from your own checklist. But the NCAA, as approved by ICAO, they have their own checklist. ICAO is the International Civil Aviation Organization. We're affiliated to it. So they have a checklist on what you can, what you need to check for an airport to be operational. But majorly, they are talking about safety and security. That's what they are, insisting upon. So I cannot sit down here and think of all situations in that regard. But then let me just finish up what I was saying, because this is exactly what I was saying. That when we have public-spirited individuals who will go and then check the airports, right, and the conduct of people in those airports, without warning. I've also put it in my schedule, in my press release, I said it, that I will do monthly visits together with the headship of FAN and some other agencies and even the National Assembly. We shall pay on scheduled visits to these airports as part of our schedule. And then it's not the big things we are looking for. Do we just have to paint the place to make it nice? Do we just have to change the toilet seats? Do we just have to change the floor? These are the small things we are looking for. So whatever we have, we just want to maintain for now as a short term. And we want public-spirited individuals to come and also be part of this with us. And that's why we say journalists must be part of it.
Have you set it up already?
No. We just made it known, but we are consulting. Maybe you help us too, because we say journalists will be part of it too. In every town, a journalist will be there, an NGO, and somebody because the governor is the chief law officer of the state, so somebody from the governor too. But a journalist must either head it or be part of it to make sure that they look at these airports for us and give us feedback. It's a second layer of supervision for me, because I can't rely on what they tell me all the time. These are civil servants who have seen so many ministers come and go. And all their is that this minister goes soon go, not mind them. It's just they make noise. And that's the attitude at times. This minister will just come and go. They are not result-oriented as you want to achieve results. So this is a second layer of supervision I'm setting up. Airport marshals
across the major airports.
Major airports.
So give us feedback. The 5 international airports.
No, all the federal airports.
All the federal airports.
to give us directly to the minister, give him feedback as to what they are doing in Calabar, in Kaduna, in everywhere. While I'm seated here, they are my eyes everywhere. So I can then cascade it down to FAN to say, look, this is what is happening in Kaduna. Can we change the doors here? Can we change the toilets? Can we get more, responsive people? Can we clear the grass here? Can we do? These are the type of things I want to do, because I can't be everywhere at the same time. But I want to involve Nigerians in government. And we should not be afraid to open ourselves up for scrutiny by Nigerians.
And it will be a good one. And before we go on the break, maybe you can quickly touch on this matter. When you raised it, a lot of people thought, what is Keyamo talking about? And there are a lot of backlash when you say all outbound international flights must now have provision of catering services.
From patronized
local caterers. What's your data-driven objective, and how much of benefit would this be for the Nigerian economy? You must be speaking from an economic point of view, isn't it?
Every sector of the Nigerian economy now, every minister must find a way to contribute to the president's vision of a $1 trillion economy by 2030. You must find a way to, if you are a minister, you are not trying to, ramp up the, economic, advantages in your sector, to empower your sector and to make sure that the economy, then what are you doing as minister? So I must find a way by which aviation must contribute to that $1 trillion economy. And that's the president's vision that we're all supporting. Now, let me tell you what normally happens. The foreign aircrafts, they come into Nigeria with their passengers, right? When they come with their meals, their inbound meals. But many of them, not all of them, and that is why I made this regulation. When they come, they also package their outbound meals. They freeze them and put them under the aeroplane. Their outbound meals, they freeze them and keep them there. So when they come and drop passengers and they load passengers again, they now use these same meals they brought from their country, frozen, and warm it and serve Nigerians when they are going out. Meanwhile, this is close to more than, a $1 billion, yearly income. And then we are denying our local caterers that advantage. And it's our passengers. It's our own ecosystem, our aviation ecosystem you are coming into. So why will you bring meals from outside? So I said, look, listen, on the outbound meals, every international airline should make a contract with local caterers. And don't forget that we have aviation caterers. They call them sky caterers. Competent ones, not just roadside people, competent ones who have been catering for our local airlines for years. So they are competent to do this.
How are the international airlines receiving this?
Take note. Of course, it's a regulation by minister.
So they don't have a choice.
Whoever wants to do this, should stop flying. They should stop flying. Somebody says, oh, why can the minister monitor this? Let me explain to you how the minister monitors it and can make this work. It's not because you have a BASA or we sign an agreement to you just fly into Nigeria in and out. No. They submit to the minister their quarterly schedules, flying schedules. Unless the minister approves that schedule, you cannot come, whether you have BASA or not. So for right now, I've approved all the winter schedules till March. British Airways, everyone, Delta, United, everybody submit, every single one, Egypt Air, and I approve your schedule. Now, by February, they will bring all their summer schedules from April to July or thereabout. I approve. So without that quarterly approval, you cannot operate your flights. So that is the power the minister has over that. Unless you show me that you have entered into a contract with a local caterer to cater for your outbound flight, I will not approve.
In the schedule you approved,
I will not approve.
In the winter schedule, yes. Did you find any of the compliance?
I've given it time. You need time to.
Okay,
so I said January.
There's a moratorium.
I said 2020. Yes, 2025.
Okay.
You must comply so that we must empower our local. There was a caterer that came to me. She was in tears. She said she has been crying over the years. Nobody listened to them on this. Government did not back them up. We don't have money to give them, but we must make the right policies as government.
We must,
our sectors
we must wake up the Nigerian economy.
We must wake up.
We are taking all of this money outside of Nigeria.
But we must keep it here.
Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
But we'll take a break, everyone. When we come back, safety is the order of our conversation tonight. But one thing that comes to mind is what happened in Port Harcourt about a helicopter crash. God forbid another one happens. But what is Festus Keyamo doing and his team to ensure we do not have such a disaster on our soil any longer? We'll be back after this break, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. Let's continue our conversation with Senior Advocate of Nigeria and the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo. Thank you so much indeed for your time. I was going to ask, are you mandating them to serve Amala, Idika Ikong, or is that part of the policy direction?
No, don't kill me. No. It's just anything at all. Our local caterers can make continental, can do anything at all. So it's not tantamount to saying you must serve local dishes. No, it's not. But don't forget that even if it's not the local dishes that they are serving, they know the taste of Nigerians. Most of 95% of passengers exiting Nigeria are Nigerians in these aircraft. So they know the taste of Nigerians. So whether they're even serving continental dishes, they know the type of spice to use and all of that. Sometimes, have you not entered international airlines at times? Mm-hmm. They'll be asking you what to eat. You won't know. You just point anything anyhow. They'll just say something
They design the menu according to their home country.
When you know that the passengers here you are coming to pick are 98% Nigerians. So it is part of also taking care of the needs of Nigerians, apart from helping the local economy to grow.
I'm worried about the conveyor belts, the infrastructure in our airports. I'm also worried about the issue of touting that we see, the kind of faces that you see at our airport. It scares one. And you land in Nigeria, you see also, I spoke with your colleague Minister in the Interior on the e-gate and all what have you. And I questioned and I asked him about these multiple agencies of government, NDLA. I don't know what NDLA is doing at the airport. I don't see similar agencies in some part of the world. I don't know why we have to have DSS, police, the army, and every agency of government lined up at the airport. Are you trying to clear all that and make our airport, especially the international airport, civil?
Thank you. So you give me time to answer that. Thank God you asked my brother, the Minister of Interior, because we are working together on this. So I'm not going to shirk responsibility to say it's not my duty. We are the landlords. We are the owners of the airport. So we have complained to the National Security Advisor on this because we are concerned about the harassment of Nigerians. Take note, it is not aviation. So people should not say, Keyamo, I see people tag me all the time. Keyamo, what you are doing? Somebody just asked for bribe for me, but it's somebody else on that agency. They tag me all the time. It's not me. It's not aviation. We have to complain to the National Security Advisor, who is doing a lot on this. I mentioned before, the training is almost over now, that he has bought 1,000 body cameras that all the agencies will wear. We just want to go through the training first. And there's a command center for this, where everybody will see exactly the moving cameras on everybody's chest in a command center. So we're almost through that. When that is done, that will go down significantly. But let me just answer you, because I know my big brother, Marwa, is watching, the chairman of NDLA. That's what's NDLA doing there. I think you are not correct. It is the manner of operation we should be concerned about. I'll just tell you that the NDLA just arrested a few days ago, and he has written to me, the chairman, on one airline, I won't mention the airline, a large dose of drugs that somebody brought in from that airline into Nigeria. So don't question what NDLA is doing at the airport. We must balance. We should not go with the friends.
So let me rephrase. Let me rephrase that question so that it doesn't sit as a wrong question to you. Now the question is, why would NDLA collect my passport?
Correct. So that's why I said the manner of operation.
That is the question.
Yes, correct.
And I'm answering that in terms of their duty at every point.
Shane, just wait me to answer. Look. What we are trying to do is to do something like the TSA in America, where there's only one stop check. Now, these agencies can be at the airport, should be at the airports, but they should be out of view. They should have their cubicles, be inside. It is when you now suspect somebody, you pull him out and take him to a restricted zone and check the person. Not that every stop you see they're checking your bag, DSS checking your bag and all that. That is what we don't want. That is what Nigerians don't want. And that's what we must do, okay, to please Nigerians. Not that every time they are dipping your hands, we must have good scanners where when you pass your bags through, You see, once you see an object that is suspicious, pull the person aside and take him away. So we must buy these heavy equipment to do one-stop check for all the agencies. So I do agree with you to that point, but it's a manner of operation. But these agencies are necessary because, we still have, people with nefarious intentions having to pass through the airport. And then the customs are not skilled enough to detect drugs. Immigration, they are not skilled enough to detect drugs. EFCC, they are not skilled enough to detect drugs. NDL is not skilled enough to detect people who are laundering money. Okay? And on like that. They all have their areas of specialty. But it is the manner of operation we must question. And then the so-called multiple stops that they harass Nigerians that we must reorganize in such a way that we must balance both the convenience of passengers and the need for security at our border. It's a delicate balance that we must achieve.
So you think that we need to have something close to the TSA?
Correct.
In Qatar, you find it.
Correct.
In the UAE, you
Correct.
find it. In America,
Correct.
you
I'm
find it.
telling you. So we have to
unified. We are in the process of getting that done.
Yes.
How soon can that happen?
We're working with the National Security Advisor. It's not within my powers alone because this is a multiple agency cooperation. For instance, immigration and aviation in particular, it's so delicate that we have so many, woven, duties that overlap a lot. For example, myself and my brother, Minister of Interior, we came and met a situation on the ground. This advanced passenger information system, whereby before you board out from any part of the country, any part of the world, we have advanced information as to who the passengers on that aircraft is. And so when you come and you swipe your passports, in a command center, we know exactly, we have your total profile without having to pull. If you are going to US these days and some other countries, you'd wonder why they don't spend time on you. They just come and say, okay, go in. You think, oh, these people are careless. No, before you arrive, they know who you are. They know your total profile. And once there's a red flag, they pull you aside. So that is what we have done. But then before we came to office, there has been conflict between immigration and aviation. So much that this project could not take off because the ministers were always in conflict. Who is in charge? Who is not in charge? But when he came, I said, look, my brother, we sat down. We're already setting up another command center in NCAA on this issue. But then he came and said, look, we are doing something. So I said, you know what? For the benefit of cooperation, it's just.
And you have harmonized.
Oh yes, immediately.
Fantastic.
We harmonized, and it's working smoothly.
Minister,
the command center is working now, but it's a delicate cooperation between aviation. It's 50-50.
Let me quickly run through, and this you may not need to answer, but yes. I just need your commitment to say some of the code. Because a lot people are hungry and they're looking for how to feed. Yeah. That's why you see a lot of people touting around our airport. I just want to beg you, can you please work with security agencies to remove some of these people?
We have armed our people. That's why people were asking us the other day. They were questioning the fact that we armed FAN, the aviation security in FAN. It's not even this government. It was the previous government that granted the license for them to carry arms because you can't fight the thugs outside the airports without arms. Aviation security, and we can't bring soldiers everywhere. We have to take care of ourselves. So now we have armed them.
So you are clearing them out?
We are clearing them. Okay. So people who are saying that they don't know what is happening at the airport, go to the airports now. We are clearing them from outside the airport, but not inside. Take note, there are two issues. The one inside does not concern us. Those are the official, touters who harass people and take money. Those other agencies inside. The ones outside are our responsibilities.
All right. So
the quickly, outside.
Because I have some other issues. Training and retraining is very important.
Yes.
And I do know that there is an aviation school, the Nigerian College of Aviation Technology in Zaria.
Correct.
Those who have questioned the siting of that and how some airlines will say it's difficult for you to be able to patronize it. The question is, what is the state of that flight school in Zaria? Why is it not producing pilots?
It's producing pilots. What do you think?
How many?
Oh my God! That's one of the best. That's one of the best schools in Africa.
What is
almost all our pilots in Africa, in Nigeria? More than 99% of our pilots in Nigeria are produced by NCAA.
How many pilots have been produced from that?
I don't have the figures now, but more than 99% of pilots flying in Nigeria.
But do you listen to some of airline operators and what they say?
No, let me tell you
about training.
No, let me tell you what you are getting wrong. It's one we have awards for Zaria, the school in Zaria. It has been operating since 1960-something. I hope you know that.
I'm aware.
60-something. It has produced all the pilots and captains you see in Nigeria. One of the best in Africa. And it has received certificates from ICAO international over and over. We're one of the best. I can tell you that, pump my chest.
So that's the only place where we have the simulator.
Yeah, the simulator. That's where I'm coming to.
Yeah.
And that was what raised rumpus in the house. Remember, where they summoned me that they say I want to move simulator. Well, there was no plan to move simulator. It is a political issue, so I won't touch it. All right? Because when I came to office, I met a simulator, very expensive simulator they bought and put in Zaria. But guess what? That is where we actually need a simulator for training. All right? But then, for a simulator to be commercially viable, you cannot use it to train students alone. People must come from outside the country to use the simulator too. And they pay in dollars to use that simulator. So the whole of West Africa and Central Africa, you don't have such, because it's very expensive. And Nigeria bought it, a brand new one from Montreal. We bought it from Montreal in Canada. All right? So we ought to commercialize it for people to come into Nigeria from even the whole of Africa to do that. Instead of going to Europe, it can provide good training for pilots. However, what people are complaining about, which I don't subscribe to, so nobody should quote me that I'm subscribing to that, is that they don't want to go outside the nation's capital, Abuja or Lagos. People coming from outside the country. And so people who, before me, who came to, they thought that it should have been sited in Abuja. There's a facility in Abuja that simulator should have been sited. I didn't touch the issue because it's a political issue. If you want to move a pin,
so we are cutting that.
Yes. Yeah. If you want to move a pin, I didn't touch it. What we need to do is to look for another simulator in Abuja.
Minister.
Or the right thing to do is to equip Zaria very well. Put a 5-star facility, hotel facility and all that, so that people can go there. That's even the best option.
You probably
because Zaria is a nice place to go to.
All right.
It's a very nice. If you go to the school in Zaria, it's one of the best environments in Africa.
Because of time.
Yes.
I need you to clear something. I have very limited time. First and foremost is the issue of the crash, that helicopter crash in Port Harcourt. What is the latest? What do we know?
We found a black box. We found 5 bodies, recorded 5 bodies. There were 8 bodies on the whole. It was a charter helicopter by NNPC, and they were going to one of their offshore facilities. I addressed a press conference about a week ago on this issue to give Nigerians the update, because we have been updating Nigerians on it. So, condolences to the families of those we lost. The body, even the last body we recovered the body in Cameroon, in the waters in Cameroon, because they had been washed away. It was actually within the, it happened in a place that's between the border of Nigeria and Cameroon. So the last body was recovered in Cameroon. So we have informed the Cameroonian authorities that they should help us continue the search for the 3 other bodies, because we are sure they have been washed away. But we recovered the wreckage and the black box. And right now, we'll get a preliminary report in the next 2-3 weeks. And then the final report maybe take a year or so, but we'll get to the bottom of it. However, we have sent investigators to America, because that was where the helicopter was, manufactured. So we need to get in touch with the manufacturers,
to access the black box.
No. To tell us a few things about the make of the helicopter, what must have happened, feed them. That is a normal thing in
NSIB is working.
Yes, NSIB
is working on the details of the record.
Correct, and also preparing for family support. The law says we must provide family support. So NSIB is trying to provide family support.
I saw a particular post on social media by a comedian who says that there is some kind of cahoot with operators, NCAA in particular, and some operators. A regulator and operator should not, for the safety of Nigeria and Nigerians flying out, and the fact that there's a lot of big politics being played about the leadership of NCAA, and the fact that how can an operator and a regulator be so much in bed that it's going to endanger the lives and properties. The question is that, are you able to clear the air about the issue of the NCAA?
So very big, very small, simple question. The so-called experts will tell you that I should not even talk about it, that the regulator is all and all is God, that the minister must not interfere in regulation. That's what they say. But I've said no, I will not do that. And that is why I've set up a task force on what the regulators are doing regarding private charter and some other regulated matters. So I've intervened in that respect. I've set up a task force, and the task force is working now. I did not rely on the regulators alone. That's why the outcry from and I hope the so-called experts in the industry are listening to you asking this question, that ministers should not interfere. Ministers should not. When I see clearly that the regulator is condoning things with the operators, a minister should be lame duck. I'm not a lame duck minister.
Because the question about...
That is why, for example, what happened in Dana? I told the regulator, do your work. You would have killed Nigerians. You will kill Nigerians. So many incidents involving the same
allegations that some operators are using their engineers, in fact, the handling of their aircraft.
Exactly.
And later on, because the operator and the regulator are in bed, it might cause danger.
Experts will tell you, don't interfere. I'm interfering, and I'm looking into all of these issues.
What about the leadership of NCAA? They say there's a lot of politics there.
No, there's no politics.
The removal of the head.
There's no politics. The president makes the final decision. What's the politics there? With Mr. President? President makes the final decision.
Let me ask you quickly, our national carrier, why is it so difficult to establish that? Under your predecessor, that was a disaster. Now
the court said it was null and void, not me. The court.
So you said you want to begin again. That's what you said.
Well, it depends on the model the president approves. I have to get approval of.
So that's not been approved yet. That is the status.
We have to sit down. Yeah, we have to sit down and look at the model. But the model, if we must approve the model, it must favor Nigeria and Nigeria's economy. We must not do a model where all the earnings of that airline, you just paint it Nigerian airline, all the earnings go to a foreign country. That is a model I will not subscribe to. And right now, what we must concentrate upon is to support Nigerian flag carriers all over the world. That is what is done all over the world.
Have you been able to resolve the airpiece matter with Heathrow and landing in Heathrow?
Well, you know that it's a lot of diplomatic, talk going on behind. But you said that they wrote back. I think the letter leaked out. When I, wrote to them and put my foot on the ground to get access to Heathrow. So a lot of diplomatic issues are going on behind. At some convenient point, we will tell the Nigerian public what's about. We are talking, and they have invited us to further discussions.
Quickly before we close, Boeing, the agreement with the MOU with Boeing, IDERA, the certification that we got. What can you tell Nigerians? Is it good news, or what kind of obligations
you didn't tell me congratulations.
Congratulations to Nigeria, anyway.
Yeah, to Nigeria, and that is credit to Mr. President. That our global scores shot up from 49% to 75.5%.
And this confirms our safety,
our safety and our compliance with the Cape Town Convention on aircraft leasing. So we are good to go in terms of being part of the global players. It was in shambles when we came to power, but Mr. President, with his support, told me to focus on these areas, especially the support to shore up the capacity of our local airlines. And that's why we did that. Now we have been invited. Boeing is brokering a meeting for Nigeria for the first time in the history of the world with the major aircraft leasers and financiers of the world. They are meeting in Dublin in January, and we have been invited. They said I should come with all the airline operators. I should come also with the banks. They are going to about 6 or 7 big banks. We are going to the leadership of the National Assembly on insurance and aviation, and of course the NICOM boss is going, because there's an aspect of insurance they want to talk about there, and the Insurance Association of Nigeria. A whole of
we are totally out of time. I would have loved to touch on insurance. The airfares are crazy. You fly to Lagos and Abuja, you're spending over 500,000 or 500,000
outside our power.
Please do something to put that
the
out.
value of the naira and all of that. But then, we're talking
I see that you made the cut eventually, and some of the associations within the aviation sector were congratulating you, thinking that some people thought that you will not make the cut. But it's
the discretion of Mr. President. It is discretion, and so long as he thinks that I'm, going the right direction and executing his policies very well, we'll remain here.
All right.
But then, the airline operators they were very effusive. They thanked Mr. President. The unions thanked Mr. President. The caterers thanked Mr. President.
The spokesperson
they were all excited.
All right. Thank you so much, Festus Keyamo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria and the Minister of Aviation. Thank you so much indeed for clearing the air on some of these issues.
Thank you.
That's our show for tonight, everyone. And thanks for watching. I'm Sean Akimale. God bless Nigeria.